Great news as a second stimulus check is likely to get approved in late July. But how much will it be, and when will you receive it? Hey everybody, this is LALATE, and this is a second stimulus check and stimulus package update for today. This one about the check. Great, exciting news that you are likely to get a check because all three bodies at work have all said you are going to get a second stimulus check. So this is great news. This video is going to go over two issues: the check, when you're going to get the check, and then the major issue is how much is going to be the check? How much is going to be the actual second stimulus check? So let's get right to it. First, we know that you're going to be getting a second stimulus check, and this is just incredibly great news. Why do we know this? Because all three major forces have now confirmed that they want to give you a second stimulus check. Who are they? First, the Democrats. Second, the Republicans. Third, the White House. All three groups have said they want to give you a second stimulus check. They especially want to give a certain group of people a second stimulus check. Those are people who don't make a lot of money. So that certainly includes SSDI, SSI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, as recipients of a second stimulus check. It can't get any better news than that. So there we go. Great news. We detailed it yesterday. It's now confirmed, ostensibly, that you will get a second stimulus check if one of all three proposals is passed, because it proposes to give a second stimulus check to viewers of this channel, especially those on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, and veterans benefits. So great, exciting news. Now, let's get to the next thing we also know, also confirmed yesterday, but we've been detailing it exclusively on this channel for 2 weeks. We know when the second stimulus check will be approved. Now, this is the approval date. This is not the date it actually lands in your bank account, but this is the approval date, which is so important. We don't have to sit around guessing anymore. We will actually have an answer. So your answer will likely come around August 7th or August 8th. It's more likely August 8th. Why? That is the last day that members of Congress can pass a second stimulus check for you, because they're on vacation now. They don't take enough vacations. They're in the Tahitian villas. They have their feet in the jacuzzi. They're sipping their Mai Tais, and they're doing much of nothing. But they come back to work a hard 10 days in late July and then go on vacation again on August 7th, August 8th. So they only have a certain number of days to pass a second stimulus check. And so the last passage day is around August 7th, August 8th. So that's also great news. We know when it's going to get approved. All right, so let's get to the things that are really also great news, but we don't know all the details about them. And I'm going to go through them with you slowly, clearly, and informatively right now. First, how much will the check be? We have, over the last couple of days, talked about three possibilities, but there now apparently is a lot more options, and they surfaced today, and I'm going to be going over the new ones shortly. First of all, the ones we already know were $1,200 a single check. The second option was a single check of more than $1,200, probably around $2,000. The third option was a series of checks starting from the date of when the bill is passed going forward, and the most likely proposal among that group is 6 $2,000 checks, or otherwise said as one $2,000 check every 6 months, or until the pandemic improves or until unemployment rates improve. Those are the ones I've been talking about over the last week or so on this channel. We now know two other things that are really, really great news and exciting and fascinating, and I'm going to go through them with you, and I want to hear your comments as well, so drop your comments below. The first one is that members of Congress are paying very well attention, according to a news report today, Sunday. They're paying attention to something called the Stockton Plan. What is the Stockton Plan? Well, the Stockton Plan is a plan that was instituted by a city here in California. And this plan was detailed as following. They said, the city leaders, they said, you know what? We need a stimulus check for our citizens. We can't wait around for Congress. We need a stimulus check for our citizens. So they said, we are going to give a stimulus check to a certain group of citizens, namely those that are really right around the poverty level or shortly above it, or slightly above it, that may work and have lost their jobs but really don't make enough money. Their concern was homelessness. Their concern was inability to pay rent, inability to pay for food. Really, really dire situations. So they said, you know what? We're going to give free money to our citizens. They started it in 2019 before the pandemic, and then it was a big hit. They only did a test run with 125 citizens they identified qualify. Now they've rolled it out to a lot more, and virtually all their citizens in their city, which is not a particularly large city, to give that stimulus check to them every month. And it's $500 per person for people who really are, desperately in need of a check. They can't make rent. They can't pay for utilities. They needed the check. It's been a huge success. This is great news. And I'll tell you why it's been a huge success. It hasn't just been a huge success because it's helped these people that absolutely need the check. I mean, that's the top priority. It's also been a huge success because it's shown that everyone else has been helped by the check. The businesses like the supermarkets have gotten help because now they have people able to go buy food. Other businesses have seen stimulus flow into them because these people now have money to go spend in their local economy. So it's a big hit. What happened from that? So now that the stimulus package in Stockton was rolled out during the pandemic in early March and April, a lot of congressmen saw it and said, wow, we need to do something on a federal level like that. And that there created what's called the Monthly Economic Crisis Support Act, another act which really is referencing back to the Stockton Plan in news reports today, Sunday. Now, the act itself is not particularly new. It was introduced by Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders, and Ed Markey, who are all Democrats, a few weeks ago. So it wasn't introduced today, of course. But the tie into Stockton is really being talked about in major news reports today. Now, I'm going to go over with you the money that these senators propose, and this is a Senate bill. It's in the Senate. It's a proposal for a second stimulus. It's different than the $2,000 per month. It's different than the $1,200 singles check. It's a lot more money. I'm going to go over it with you and tell you what I think about it. Are you ready? $10,000 per household every month. Yes. Isn't that great news? Incredible news. This plan, the Monthly Economic Crisis Support Act, which I have to look at my paper because I can't remember the name, it's a little bit long, proposes to give each household of U.S. citizens $10,000 per month until they get through this pandemic. It's incredible. It's really great news. Now, let me break it down for you and tell you what I think is the problem with the plan and tell you where the plan can get modified. So it's not exactly a $10,000 lump sum payment. Ultimately, it's up to $10,000. So if you are a single person, you wouldn't get $10,000. Let me go through the numbers with you. It would be, if you're an individual, you would get $2,000. If you're a married couple, you get $4,000. If you have a child, if you're a parent and you have a child, $2,000 per child up to 3 children. So that's incredible. I mean, that is great news. This is the highest amount of money I've ever heard for children under a second stimulus package. So basically, if there's a husband and wife, $2,000, they get $4,000. And if they have children, they get $2,000 per child up to 3 children. That's where you get the $10,000. It's a lot of money. So this, I think, is absolutely incredibly great news. And it's every single month. I'm going to repeat again. It's every single month. Here is where I don't think it's good, and I'm going to tell you why. The threshold for who gets this enormous amount of money is too high. There's too many wealthy people getting this stimulus package. The stimulus package is proposed by Harris, Sanders, and Mr. Markey to be paid to any household where the individual made up to $120,000 a year. Wow. So if you made $100,000 a year, the Democrats want to also give you a $10,000 a month second stimulus check. That's a little too greedy. It's a little bit too much money for wealthy people. Here is what the reaction is, and this is the great news, is that the reaction to the plan was, hey, we like the idea of the plan, but the money is too much money for the rich people. Let's give it only to people who really need it. And that's what's great, exciting news. So the report, the proposal, the act, the bill proposed the $10,000. But then what it did was it said, okay, what if households made less money? Maybe we should only propose it to certain households. So there was a second discussion of the bill, which proposed to only give the money to households where they made $50,000 or less. If you hear that number, you're going to wink at me from the other side of the camera and say, I heard that number before. You know where you heard that number? It's Mitch McConnell-ish again. Mitch McConnell thinks that for people who make about $40,000 or less individually per year are the ones that really need a second stimulus check, and that people make over $40,000 a year don't need a second stimulus check. Here, this plan said if you made over $50,000 a year, do you really need $10,000 a month? That's a lot of money. So that's where it's going with it. So it's really great news because it basically says we want to help people who are desperately in need. My SSI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, veterans benefits, and Social Security recipients, my viewers of my channel who absolutely desperately are in need, and that we all know that $1,200 is not going to cut it. A single $1,200 check is not enough. So here we say we have these Democrats in a proposal, and we have the Republicans on the pushback actually both saying, hey, we need to give money. We need to give more money than we're talking about. $1,200 is not enough. So let's do $2,000 per person. Let's give $4,000 for each couple, and let's give $2,000 for child. $2,000 is a lot of money, and it's great news because the CARES Act in March only paid $500 to some children, only paid $500 to children up to age, I think it was 17. The HEROES Act, which is currently in the Senate, only proposes to give $1,200 to certain children at to certain ages and not to other ones. Here we're saying, no, you got to give more money. And so it proposes $2,000 for children up to 3 childs per household. Really great news. Here's some new economic data that is really quite important, and it was what was discussed in the context of the Stockton Plan today. It said that of those making $120,000 or less accounts for, I'm going to mess up the sentence so I can say it again. Your host always messes up at least one sentence per day. The report said that 90% of U.S. citizens make $120,000 or less per year. There, I said it easier. 90% of U.S. citizens make $120,000 or less per year. And so it says that those are really the ones that a second stimulus check program needs to focus on. Why are all these other plans trying to give Elon Musk and Kanye and everyone else who doesn't really need a second stimulus check? Why are we giving all these billionaire second stimulus checks? We really don't need that. And we also don't need people who are making $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year or $130,000 a year to get a second stimulus check. We need people who really need it to get it. Here's another number that came out. 40% of people who made $40,000 or less last year have lost their job due to the pandemic. Those are the people that a second stimulus check needs to help. I'll say that again. 40% of people who made $40,000 or less last year lost their job because of the pandemic. Those are the people who absolutely need a second stimulus check. So really great news. There's a couple things that I want to touch on really quickly, and I'm going to rush through them because I don't want this video to run too long. Later today, we'll be answering your second stimulus check questions as well. First, I want you to understand that there's two things to be in focus with when we come into late July and those senators return back and start getting back to work for a full 10-something days. First, I don't want you to focus on what the name of the bill is. That's so important. I've seen some comments by people saying, I heard this senator saying the HEROES bill is dead. I heard that the HEROES... I don't want you to focus on what the bill is called. Ultimately, what's important is the second stimulus check, how much you're going to get with a check. The second thing is, I want you to remember that when we're doing a second stimulus check, it's part of a second stimulus package. And I touched on that yesterday, and I'm going to repeat it probably ad nauseum. It's very important. When we're doing a second stimulus package, there's a lot of things in there. There's hazard pay, unemployment, rent assistance, and the second stimulus check itself. I don't want you to any time get confused when we're talking about the package as a whole versus the check specifically. Because what could potentially happen, and I've been detailing in the other videos, when the stimulus package as a whole goes up for a vote in late July, parts of the package may not get approved. But that's not to say the check is not going to get approved. The check is a part of the package. So to repeat, the package involves a lot of things, and some of the other things in the package may not get approved. Don't worry, because the great news is that the check is going to likely get approved because all three forces say it's going to get approved. Finally, I want you to be in touch and informed and educated on yourself as to a series of three things going forward. Who files your tax return? What address is the tax return filed at? And what year did you start benefits? I don't need you to do any more than that, because ultimately those three questions may determine whether or not you get a second stimulus check or how you'll get the second stimulus check. It's important to know that information, and sometimes that information takes, a few phone calls to some family members to say, hey, what's going on with this? I watched this channel, this guy said to check and see, what year did I start benefits? Those type of questions are so important because ultimately we know from the CARES Act, the first stimulus check, that some things were done differently for different people. And if you're on SSI, SSI, Social Security, Railroad Benefits, or Social Security, you will get a second stimulus check under all three proposals. But some viewers may get the check in a different way. Some viewers may, in a very strange circumstance, not get the check if they are one of more than 3 dependents on someone else's tax return, which is a very rare circumstance, but I still have to mention it. And finally, you won't get the second stimulus check if you have a payee, and the payee gets your benefits on a monthly basis. So it's those important things I'm here to help you with and make sure you get through them. Lastly, today, LALATE launched a private Instagram account. If you use Instagram, this could help you. The Instagram account was established for viewers who have questions about EIDL grants and loans and need links for information to loan officers, grant officers, reconsideration officers. It also has a post in there about the first and second stimulus check and has a link to IRS pages that inform you on what you need to do to ensure you got the first stimulus check. So ultimately, if you didn't get it, there may be an ability for you to still get that first stimulus check. If you are interested in being part of this private Instagram account, then simply follow us on Instagram at LALATE_. Subscribe to this channel, follow us on Instagram, send us a message, a DM, and we will send you a link and invite you into that private account so you can see links and information that viewers share with one another. It's an environment in which people help one another, which is ultimately what this channel inspires everyone to do. As always, have a great afternoon, stay safe, stay positive, and stay with LA for more.